An interesting thing about strata cut is that if you put something at a diagonal, a sharp diagonal like this, and cut your knife that way, the fact that the lines are still thick, even though if you look at them that way, the lines are very skinny. This principle is important, for example, in this eye, this 45-degree angle movement of this eye coming into this block from nowhere, because the pupil that I made inside this eye is a skinnier oval shape in order to make it seem like it's a circle. If I had left this pupil material this thickness and put it at a diagonal like that, I would have gotten a very, very warped and distorted pupil. Anytime something is moving from side to side in a strata cut block, you know I've had to make it really, really skinny in order to seem normal when it's cut open again. Again, taking this simple line of stripe material, the speed with which something moves across frame is directly proportional to what angle you position it to the camera lens, or to the slice. Here you get a very fast line moving across frame, zip, slice, 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 slice. So in like 8 slices, this striped line was going whoop. If you move this at a 45-degree angle though, you probably have 2 seconds of animation, much slower, much less fast, one at a time, each slice taking, and also of course the lines would be skinnier. And if you move it directly toward the frame, you get no animation at all. What I'm working with shape is shape distortion. Animation in clay is shape distortion. So a cone is a very simple shape, but when you cut it up from the front to the back, you're getting a dot, a very small dot that becomes larger and larger and animates to becoming a very large circle at the back side of it. That is the essence of shape distortion in strata cuts. Of what's going on inside this eye. There's some eye blinks. Well, first of all, there's the iris, the pupil, the iris. The whites of the eyes have been added after this has all been built. Then I've dug these little gouges, these little cavities or valleys, which are eye blinks. And they're about a quarter of an inch, third of an inch at the top, and then they go down to nothing, like little wedges. Just cut them out, and then add eyeliner, which is this, or eyelashes I should say, which is striped material, striped clay. It's put through an extruder in order to get these thin, long lines, and sliced up and then laid over on that, like that, on a diagonal. And the reason for the diagonal is to get animation. Every time I cut this frame, these eyelashes are going to be moving across the frame, a quarter of an inch each frame. And they'll have this really fluid, continuous motion then. This is again, the eyeliner, and this is the eyelid filled in. This is the regular flesh around the eye, and I've gone ahead and cut open this to show you how it becomes an eye, or goes from an eye to being a blink, and how that blink starts to open a slice at a time. How you make a cube checker pattern. You take these lines and cut them up and stack them. You can cut equidistant quarter-inch sections, and then I'm going to flip-flop them. Every other section is going to be flip-flopped and stacked back together. This is a way of getting a checkerboard pattern very quickly. So that's flipped, this is put in, stacked again straight, this is flipped, that's stacked in straight. I'm going to go ahead and make it even and do one more. And this will be flipped. It gives you not a complete checkerboard, but it gives you an idea of how you make pattern. I'm going to repeat the same process, only going perpendicular to the last sets of cuts. And I'm going to flip-flop every one of these as well. I'm going to, so this stays upright, this gets flipped, this stays upright, and this gets flipped, this stays upright, this gets flipped, so on and so forth. Sometimes is to put it in a cube fashion like that. Basically put some supporting clay around it, but get it on a prismatic or a diamond cut angle to the way the lens would be shooting the image and the way the knife would be cutting it. It takes some thought, but it's worth watching. If I take that shape You can see the interesting patterns that you'd get when you go on a diagonal like that. We do that. You make this like that. And you see how this shape that I just cut off from over here, if you put it on the other side there, it lines up perfectly. It becomes the continuating pattern on the other side. Now I'm going to do something crazy and cut it this direction. And you see how these two parts, like there, just line up together? And so I made another parallelogram just by marrying the negative side of the part I cut with the positive side of the other part of the block. Cut finally this side off and marry it on this side. You can see how these two line up. And what I've got again now is a box. True, you've got a box shape again. And this is an ideal form to cut strata cut up in. But it's a series of diagonal shapes that are prismatically moving across frame. They're like flittering in and flittering out. Another idea in strata rotating objects. This is a box rotating in space. This is the top of the lid of the box up here, and these are the two sides, the yellow side, the red side. You can see how one side is moving across frame. If I'm cutting this up this direction, basically toward the camera this way, but cutting it up like that, you can see on the underbelly of this object how one side is moving across and elegantly becoming very skinny right there. It is much shorter and much more a steep angle. And we're getting, by this slice, we're getting awfully close to that side of that box fully disappearing. But if you keep going, as you can see through the contour of this programmed piece of motion sculpture, you'll get the yellow coming around on the other side. So it's starting to interframe as if the other side of the box, the cube, if you will, is coming around forward. So in brief, that's an example of rotational objects in strata cut.